I was just driving past my son-in-law's house, minding my own business, when I spotted my wife's shiny silver Lexus parked there. You know, the one that's supposed to be in our garage, not parked outside Dan the Snake's den. My chest tightened straight away. Call it instinct, call it gas, but I knew something was off. So, like an idiot in a bad soap opera, I tiptoed up to the window. What I heard inside. Oh, nothing major. Just my wife of 25 years plotting my financial murder with my daughter's husband. Lovely. Margaret's voice floated out the window. Sweet as arsenic. When the old fool signs the papers, we'll have everything we planned for. Old fool. That's me, by the way. Nice to know my official title at home. 5 minutes earlier, I called my daughter all cheery. Let's go for dinner. She said she wasn't home, but Dan was there working on case files. Case files? Ha! Yeah. Case files titled How to Rob Dad Blind. Through the curtains, I see Margaret sprawl on the sofa like she owns the place. Dan leans against the bookshelf, looking like the smug law student who finally got the answer right. They're chatting timelines, divorce strategies, millions of pounds on the table, and Margaret laughs. You know, that tinkly fake laugh I once thought was cute. Now it sounds like the devil ringing a doorbell. Dan brags about documenting my assets for months. Apparently I've handed him the keys to my kingdom. Well, isn't that generous of me? 2 years of Margaret nodding politely at my boring construction stories, secretly planning to rob me blind. Adorable. And then, oh, brilliant me, I step on a twig. Snap. Both their heads whip round like they're auditioning for Deer in Headlights. The musical. Dan calms her down, says it's probably a cat. Right, mate? Just a neighbor's cat wearing steel-toed boots and a guilty conscience. By September, Dan promises Margaret will be divorced, rich, and free to frolic about with whoever she likes. Excellent news. I managed to sneak back to my car, my phone recording the whole venom-filled performance. Honestly, my hands were shaking. 25 years of marriage reduced to a boardroom strategy session with my wife and her lover-in-law. While I was working 16-hour days, they were drawing up my obituary in spreadsheet form. Romantic. I'm sat in the car, staring at the hands that built her empire, provided every luxury, even held her up when her own dad wouldn't bother to walk her down the aisle. And she says, the man actually believes I love him. Yes, darling, I actually did, until about half an hour ago. Oops. Just then, out they come. Margaret, swinging her designer bag like it's filled with stolen dreams, and Dan, straightening his tie as a betrayal requires formal wear. They spot me in my humble Honda. Margaret gasps, Alan, what are you doing here? Oh, nothing, love. Just catching you rehearsing my funeral. I plaster on a fake smile. Inspection nearby, thought I'd drop in. Smooth. Meanwhile, Dan edges closer like a guard dog with a law degree. Margaret blurts out some nonsense about helping him with legal documents. Sure, sweetheart. Legal documents titled How to Steal Everything He Owns. I tease her about being off work early, drop a fake appointment about her doctor, and watch her face glitch like a broken computer. She recovers fast. Of course. My wife could lie her way out of a burning building. I say goodbye. Pretend everything's normal. Drive away calm as you like. Except I got 43 minutes of pure betrayal recorded on my phone. Checkmate, darlings. Back home, I sit in the car staring at the house I built with my bare hands. Every brick, every nail. A love letter, apparently addressed to the wrong recipient. The silence inside feels different now. Hollow. The wedding photo on the mantle looks like a bad comedy sketch. Her in silk, me in a rented tux, both glowing like idiots. She was 22. I was 37. I thought I'd won the lottery. Spoiler, I was a scratch card. She laughed at my terrible joke about cement mixers back then. Said I was building homes, not houses. Cute line. Turns out she was building her exit strategy. Her last anniversary card to me read, to my wonderful husband, thank you for making all my dreams come true. Here's to 25 more years. 25 more years? Sweetheart, you barely made it to the cake. I sit in my recliner, The one she always hated because it didn't match the decor and let the memories wash over me. Baby photos, graduations, Christmas mornings. All those moments I thought were real. And now, they just feel like props in Margaret's long con. Margaret loved decorations. Not normal ones. I mean weeks of work. Thousands spent, all for something that'd be ripped down in a day. Classic. When exactly did thank you for everything, darling, turn into we deserve more, you stingy old man? The answer, of course, was sitting on my phone in a neat little recording. Margaret hadn't loved me in years. Possibly decades. Every kiss, every I love you whispered at night. All rehearsed lines from the How to Train Your Husband handbook. 25 years of marriage, reduced to a PowerPoint presentation about my bank accounts. I sat in the dark, surrounded by family photos and fake memories, and realized I wasn't crying. Oh no, I was plotting. If Margaret thought she was the only one who could play the long game, bless her. She forgot I'm the same man who built an entire construction empire from one rusty truck and a dodgy hammer. Oops. I started thinking back. When did she flip from partner to parasite? Easy. 2020. The year I landed the Morrison Municipal Center contract. 50 million quid over 3 years. Biggest job of my life. I came home buzzing, expecting champagne, maybe even a cheeky kiss. Instead, I found Margaret with a calculator and a property magazine. This means we can finally buy the house on Elm Street, she announced. Not a congratulations, love, in sight. Straight to, the Hendersons want 4.2 million. Lovely. I tried explaining there were permits, designs, negotiations. She cut me off with, but the money's guaranteed, right? Ah, yes, romance. Nothing gets a woman's heart racing like guaranteed cash flow. That night she planned out every penny, new house, country club, luxury cars, European holidays. Her list, not ours. But silly me, I thought marriage meant we. By 2021, the demands got louder. A country club membership, because the Pattersons joined. Our holiday cabin was suddenly embarrassing compared to the Johnson chalet. Intimacy? Vanished. Apparently I snored, though funny enough she never mentioned it for 23 years. Dinner conversations went from how was your day to Sarah Mitchell's husband bought her a Mercedes. Why haven't you? Yes, Margaret. Truly a tragedy, having to cut salmon with the wrong knife. Enter Dan, the son-in-law. After Brianna's wedding in 2023, Margaret suddenly became fascinated with legal stuff. Asking Dan hypotheticals about spousal rights. Taking phone calls in the other room about her book club. Sure, love, book clubs that end in joint bank accounts. I replayed the recording. Dan bragging. We've been documenting his assets for months. Margaret cackling about her Oscar-worthy performance as devoted wife. The penny dropped. All those questions about valuations and joint accounts. Recon. She'd been quietly surveying the castle while I was busy building it. But here's where she slipped. She thought I'd hand over the keys to my kingdom without noticing. Cute. What she didn't know. The real treasure wasn't even in those files she'd been snooping through. I'd stashed it safely offshore years ago. Tax optimization. Darling, not crime. I called Marcus, my accountant and occasional drinking buddy. Time to turn my office into a war room. Laptops humming. Papers everywhere. Yellow pads covered in columns. Assets, weaknesses, leverage. Basically monopoly, but real. And I was the banker. Margaret, bless her, wasn't subtle either. 47,000 pounds funneled out to some mystery account. Beneficiary, Daniel Thompson. Oh yes, my very own son-in-law. Signing checks with my money. Spa treatments, designer handbags, book club, lunches at the country club. All while moaning about the price of groceries. 8 Hermes bags, but little feels expensive? Make it make sense. And Dan? Golden Boy had his own skeletons. 180,000 pounds in student loans. Office lease bleeding 8,500 pounds a month. Unpaid bills with subcontractors. My industry mates laughed over coffee. He's got champagne taste on a beer budget. Even the Bar Association had complaints about him, though all dismissed. Cute resume. Shame about the ethics. I leaned back, surveying the mess. They thought I was some clueless workaholic who never noticed the bills. Wrong. I noticed everything. And now, the businessman in me was very much awake. Then Brianna rang. Dad, is everything okay between you and Mum? There's been weird tension. Careful little voice, like I was her patient. My heart nearly stopped. How much did she know? She said Mum seemed stressed about money. Dan kept fishing for business details, asking who controls what. Fishing. Yes, darling. They were fishing, but I wasn't the one on the hook. I reassured her, just business pressures. Because what else do you say? By the way, love, your mum and husband are conspiring to rob me blind. Not over the phone. Minutes later, Sarah Chun, my accountant of 12 years, rang. Alan, I've got the asset protection documents ready. Bless her, she knew. This is about more than estate planning, isn't it? Perceptive woman. I confirmed it. She promised by noon everything would be insulated. Margaret could scream divorce, all she liked. She'd never touch the real money. By 10 a.m., I was at First National Bank with Tom Bradley, old mate and golf partner. Asked him to freeze every joint account and credit line. Tom raised his eyebrows. This'll inconvenience Margaret. I smiled. I'm counting on it. By 11:47 a.m., the locks were changed. Financially speaking, Margaret was about to find herself rattling a very empty piggy bank. So, picture this. Margaret's at her fancy weekly lunch at Riverside Country Club. You know, surrounded by her fellow construction wives, comparing handbags like it's an Olympic sport. Suddenly, my phone buzzes. Her first declined car transaction. Oh no, poor darling couldn't pay for her overpriced salad. By 12:50 she's ringing me, voice quivering like she's just seen a ghost. Alan, something's wrong with our accounts. My card was declined at lunch. The bank says there's security hold. Do you know anything about this? Oh, the innocence. Like butter wouldn't melt in her Chanel bag. No mention of the 47,000 pounds she funneled into Dan's pocket. No mention of the secret joint account. Just, Alan, I'm embarrassed in front of Linda and Susan and Janet. Not panicked that her grand conspiracy might have crumbled. Oh no, she was panicked because her social status got declined along with her card. I told her I'd call Tom, our banker. Lied through my teeth, of course. Instead, I drove to the construction site. Nothing soothes a man like the sound of cement mixers when his marriage is collapsing. Meanwhile, her texts kept rolling in. 1:47 p.m., still can't access any accounts. 2:23 p.m., Tom's secretary says he's busy. What sort of bank president is too busy for his best customers? 3:15 p.m., even our emergency credit line is frozen. How am I supposed to buy groceries? Groceries, Margaret? You dropped 47 grand on spa days and handbags last month. But sure, it's the groceries that'll break you. By 4:30, my private investigator calls. Apparently, Dan had tried to break into their shared account 3 times, then even had the audacity to poke at our daughter's education fund. Yes, the man who wants to steal my fortune also wants to rob his future kid's piggy bank. Inspirational. He kicked off, threatening bank staff, demanding managers. Classic lawyer meltdown. The kind of tantrum you'd expect from someone whose wig is on too tight. By 6 o'clock, I was back in my office. Every account frozen. Every card locked. Every payment under my personal say-so. Margaret's access to 25 years of wealth reduced to whatever change she had rattling around in her handbag. The same handbag, by the way, that cost more than my first car. At 6:47, the phone rang. Margaret again. I already knew. This time she'd sound less like a queen and more like a beggar. Meanwhile, she's rushing into Dan's office at 7:15, heels clacking like a panic tap dancer. My investigator, Mike, watched the whole thing from the cafe across the street. Through the building's vents. They could even hear her shrieking. Alan knows something. I couldn't even buy petrol for my car. Dan, ever professional snake, said the obvious. He must have overheard us. Assume he recorded everything. At last they could tone on. And then came their genius plan. accused me of financial abuse. Yes, apparently me protecting my own money is actually me oppressing poor Margaret. Every gift I ever gave her, every holiday, every dinner out, suddenly rebranded as control tactics. Who knew my generosity was so evil? They even planned to drag Brianna into it. Dan wanted to twist my daughter's psychology degree into proof that I manipulated her against her own mother. Oh, yes. Nothing says family bonding like weaponizing your child's education. And if I dare defend myself, that'd make me look guilty. Because apparently denial equals evidence now. Brilliant legal system we've got. By the end, their plot wasn't just about robbing me blind. They wanted to torch my finances, my reputation, my daughter's love, and basically my entire life. And Margaret, bless her heart, walked out of Dan's office at 9:30 grinning, like a woman who'd just been crowned world's greatest victim. Dan texted her straight away. Remember, you're not an angry wife anymore. You're a terrified victim escaping your abuser. And that's when I thought, oh, it's war now. Not arguments. Not divorce. Actual war. Saturday morning. She sits down with Brianna for their mother-daughter brunch. Except this time, instead of swapping cake recipes, she turns on the fake tears. Darling, I think something's wrong with your father. He's controlling. Paranoid. He's even restricting my access to money. Right. Controlling? Paranoid? I froze the accounts because she was literally trying to rob me with her lover-in-law. But sure, Margaret, tell the world I'm mad. Oops. Margaret sits there at brunch with Brianna, sighing dramatically. I couldn't even buy lunch. Oh, the horror. Forget betrayal. Forget the 47,000 pounds gone missing. No. The true tragedy here is that Mummy couldn't pick up the bill for avocado toast. Brianna, bless her, doesn't fall for it. Straight face, psychologist mode activated. Mum, financial control can be abuse, or it can just be Dad managing money for legal reasons. What's his explanation? Margaret blinks. She wanted sympathy, not a TED Talk, but she presses on. He says it's just security. But I think he's punishing me. Maybe he suspects I've been questioning our marriage. Ah, yes. The classic I might have been plotting your father's financial execution, but let's call it punishment defense. Brianna doesn't budge. So, Mum, are you saying Dad's abusing you, or are you actually thinking about divorce and he's just protecting assets? Straight to the jugular. Margaret squirms. Switches strategy. Now it's, he's acting strange, darling. Behavioral changes. As a psychologist, what do you think? And Brianna, absolute queen, goes, what happened 3 days ago to trigger this? 3 days ago? Could it possibly be the day Dad overheard you scheming with your son-in-law? Oops. Margaret stammers some nonsense. Brianna stares at her like she's a lab rat failing an IQ test. Finally, she asks, Mom, do you actually want my advice, or are you trying to recruit me for team victim? Boom. Game over. Margaret storms out, latte unfinished, plot unraveling. Meanwhile, 40 minutes away, I'm in my office getting the juiciest intel yet. My mate Jim rings. Alan, thought you want to know. Dan's in trouble with the state bar. Apparently, he's been pocketing money instead of paying subcontractors. Oh, music to my ears. Turns out the genius lawyer who wanted to steal my fortune couldn't even handle paying plumbers. 3 complaints already. 23 grand owed. Exactly what my own research found. Convenient, isn't it? So I start making calls. Bob the electrician? Furious. Steve the plumber? Spitting nails. Randy the roofer? Ready to burn Dan alive. Each one owed thousands. Each one delighted to dish the dirt. Honestly, it was like speed dating. Except instead of romance, I was collecting legal ammunition. By 1 o'clock, I had a tidy little file of proof that Dan treated trust accounts like his personal piggy bank. At 2:30, I rang the Bar Association and filed a formal complaint. Gave them names, dates, amounts, the lot. By 4, Dan's office was already being harassed by the bar, demanding hearings. By 5, he's carrying boxes out of his office like a rat off a sinking ship. My investigator asks, want me to follow him? Nah, I knew exactly where he was scurrying. Straight into Margaret's arms. Oops again. And while they were panicking, my daughter was driving to my office, walking in like she'd aged 10 years in 2 days. Professional posture, clinical voice. Dad, we need to discuss what's happened between you and Mom. She sits down, calm as anything. Mom says you're controlling, manipulative, maybe abusive. I ask her, and what do you think? She stares me down. I think Mom tried to manipulate me the same way she's been manipulating you. Show me the evidence. So I press play. Margaret's voice fills the room. When the old fool signs the papers, we'll have everything. Lovely stuff. Brianna listens, stone-faced. But when her mom's laughter drips through the speaker, mocking 25 years of marriage, I see her hand clench. Just once. That's all it took. Silence. Then, how long have you known? 6 days. And you've just been pretending everything's normal while building a defense? Something like that. She exhales, furious but calm. Mom asked me to assess your mental state. Wanted me to call you abusive. I told her no. Her story doesn't match your behavior. That's my girl. She looks at me, voice sharp now. She tried to weaponize my profession, Dad. Against you. Against me. I apologize for dragging her in. She cuts me off. Don't apologize. I'm glad I know the truth. And I choose you. I choose evidence. I choose the parent who didn't lie through his teeth. Relief hit me like a punch, followed instantly by fear. What about Dan? Her eyes went glacial. What about him? He conspired to ruin my father and use me as cover. That marriage is over. She stood, chin high, spine straight. I'll testify if I must, but I won't be anyone's weapon, not even yours. Then she left, not broken, not confused, determined. And 20 minutes later, she was unlocking her own front door. Dan was slouched on the sofa with whiskey and files, trying to look like he still had a career. Brianna dropped her bag, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "We need to talk. I know about the conspiracy." He froze. Mask slipped. His whole smooth lawyer act collapsed into panic. And all I could think was, oh, this is about to get delicious. So, there I was, standing tall while Dan clutched his whiskey, like it might save him. I hit him with, I heard the recording, every word. And suddenly, Mr. Big Shot Lawyer, the bloke who could charm a judge blindfolded, looked like a kid caught stealing biscuits. His face went paler than skimmed milk. "How much did you hear?" he croaked. "Everything," I said. "Asset division, timelines, your little fee calculations. Oh, and Mum's glowing performance review of your evil genius skills. Tell me, Dan, was our entire marriage just a bloody business plan?" Cut to 3 days later, and Margaret's perfect little social world collapsed quicker than a dodgy deck chair. At brunch, her so-called friends acted like she was invisible. Linda suddenly adored her Eggs Benedict. Susan magically got a phone call from no one. By the time Margaret sat down, even the cutlery looked like it was avoiding her. Classic. And the fake sweet Margaret. "Dear, we miss you at the meeting routine." Translation: "We've already kicked you out, love." Social death by polite silence, faster than any courtroom. Meanwhile, I was out playing chess while they were still fiddling with drafts. Lunch with Tom at the bank? Checkmate. Chamber of Commerce meeting? Oh, yes. I sprinkled just enough sadness in my voice to look like the poor betrayed husband. People ate it up like free cake. By Sunday, Margaret's name was social poison. Even her charity gigs dumped her. Meanwhile, Dan's clients were bailing on him faster than rats off the Titanic. One even sent a letter that basically said, "We've lost confidence in your ability to not be a complete idiot." Brutal. That night, Margaret's panic call could be heard through thin apartment walls. "Everyone knows, Dan. I can't show my face anywhere." Honestly, if humiliation was an Olympic sport, she'd have taken gold. By Monday, Margaret was in a posh lawyer's office, hoping for a miracle, but her lawyer just skimmed the papers and basically said, "Look, love, being unemployed since 1989 doesn't scream financial abuse. It screams dependent housewife." Ouch! Margaret tried to spin emotional abuse. Lawyer asked for specifics. She had none. No threats. No intimidation. Not even a slammed door. The poor woman couldn't even fake being abused properly. And Dan? Oh! He got grilled by the Bar Association. They wanted his records, his accounts, basically his soul. The money he'd been using to pay off student loans and keep his lights on? Yeah, that was client money. Translation, bye-bye law license. By midweek, the two of them were sat in his half-empty office like cartoon villains plotting their last big move. Their idea? File false domestic violence charges. Honestly, Margaret had gone from sipping martinis to suggesting perjury, like it was a weekend hobby. Fast forward to Thursday, and there we all were in court. Margaret in her poor battered wife costume, minimal makeup, nervous eyes, the whole drama. She starts her speech. Your Honor, my husband controls me. I couldn't even buy food. And then, boom, my lawyer pulls out Exhibit A, the full recording, for 43 glorious minutes. The courtroom listens to Margaret laughing about the old fool, while Dan explains how to twist my daughter's psychology degree into a weapon. You could practically hear Margaret's case combust. Her lawyer went pale, whispered something that definitely wasn't "we've got this," and then quit on the spot. The judge? She shut it all down with the efficiency of a teacher catching kids cheating on a test. Case dismissed. Oh, and by the way, we'll be investigating you for perjury. Gavels don't usually sound dramatic, but that one was an absolute mic drop. 2 weeks later, divorce settlement done. Margaret got basically nothing, thanks to that prenup she'd signed back in the Stone Age. Dan lost his law license forever after they found over $127,000 missing. Last I heard, he was working as a paralegal in Nebraska. Talk about a glow down. Brianna divorced him immediately and rebuilt her career helping families spot manipulative liars. Ironic, right? And Margaret? She now folds jumpers in the very mall where she once blew through my money on handbags. Karma with a discount tag. As for me, coal construction is thriving, community loves me, and my house is finally quiet. No fake smiles, no staged affection. Just me, the rain, and a roof I built myself. Margaret was right about one thing, though. I really had believed she loved me. Turns out, I was just a very long audition for her little performance. And if you enjoyed watching the circus, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Trust me, you don't want to miss the next one.